Hello chess fans, today I'm going to show you how I beat an NM very quickly. But before I continue, if you guys could go to my community tab, as you can see here, I recently have made this questionnaire where you can ask me any question you want and I will answer it in a question and answer at 1,000 subscribers. So if you could do that, that would be very much appreciated. So let's get on with the video. Okay, so in this game I decided to go for e4 and my opponent went e5. So for some brief context, I knew my opponent was an Alekhines player, but we had a game in the Alekhines previously and I was winning, I think not winning, but I basically knew the refutation after it. I played the 4 pawns attack and we got a very nice game. And I think my opponent knew that and thus they were scared of it. And I had prepped the Alekhines before the game, but I didn't know he played e5. So here I played knight f3, what I always do. d6. So again, I was surprised. I thought he would go knight c6. I never saw him play this before, but d4, knight d7. Here I went for bishop c4, which is the most accurate continuation. For all the beginners here, this is simply a nice way to develop if your opponent plays passively. And here my opponent actually already blundered the game away. So what I was familiar with is here you can play the move c6. And I know that what white can do here is castle, and after bishop e7, they would take, go knight g5, threatening f7, but you might say, doesn't that hang the piece? But no, we have queen h5 with the fork. Here the only way to defend is queen here, and after takes. White is significantly better, having 70% win rates in the database. He has the bishop pair for no compensation. But I hate this position. I've lost this position as white a few times, and thus I've decided to stop playing it. So, that's the way to take advantage of the c6 move order. Here, I think my opponent got mixed up a little bit and played bishop e7. So already on move 4, white is completely winning. Now, if you asked me during the game if I thought I was completely winning on move 4 against an NM, I would have been absolutely shocked. But yeah, take a few seconds here to see if you can find the move. It's actually not that difficult. I'm not sure how I didn't spot it, but I was basically only thinking of that same line with takes, and knight g5. And then I thought we'd get endgame, which is also fine, but it's not as good. Okay, so here the move is takes. And for example, they have a few options here. If they take here, they immediately lose the queen d5. There's no way to defend this, and they'd lose a piece. For example, here, just take, and then mate him next move. So yeah, that means they can't take with the pawn, so they have to take with the knight, and after takes, you have a nice fork. So, yeah, very unfortunate for me to win a move on move like whatever this is. My opponent also, you can also go knight b6, but here you just be up a pawn because if they take here, you just take back. So, yeah, very unfortunate for me to miss it, but okay, this is still a good game. Knight c3 transpose in the main line after knight f6. So we're in the main line again. And here I played a very tricky move that I knew, a4. So now this is quickly becoming the most popular move in this position, and you'd have to know this position from beforehand to actually be able to understand this move. So the idea is we want to just go a5 as quickly as possible so black doesn't have any options. And my opponent played a5 in the game, and we'll see why this is not a very good move. But for example, if black castles here, we actually just want to go a5. And you might say, why are you wanting to go a5? And the idea is, in a closed position, something that is very nice is to have space. Space is something that's very important because the less space your opponent has, the less room they have to maneuver their pieces. So it's going to be very awkward. And if they maneuver their pieces with rook e8 and here, it might get awkward if I blow up the center quickly because my pieces are better placed. So they can also go, my opponent said after the game that knight b6 was also playable. And here, for example, after bishop a2, I think, they have to go e takes d5 or else they lose the pawn first. Here I would take with the queen, and now a5. And this is another playable position that I think that, in hindsight, my opponent probably should have gone for. Again, white has a significant advantage here, but I think it's not out of the realm of what the Philidor is supposed to give. It's around plus 0.7. Okay, but instead, I've spoiled it. My opponent played a5. And to understand why I needed to insert a4, a5, let's look at another line. So here, a common line is knight g5. This is a line that's not that good because you might say, wait, can't they just castle? But no, here you have bishop takes f7, rook takes f7, knight e6, attacking the queen. Queen only has one square, can't go here because I take with the knight, so he has to go queen e8. Then I have this fork, knight c7, queen goes back to e8, I take here. But this is not so good because, for example, after a move like b6, the knight's trapped. After bishop b7, we're going to lose a knight, and here our opponent's going to have 2 pieces for a rook, which is generally favorable for black. So that's why this has pretty much gone fully out of trend. Now you might say, why does the addition of a4, a5 make any difference? And it's a simple reason that now that my opponent has committed to a5, this knight can come to b5 and the other knight can live on c7. So my knights can actually escape. Very important. So here I went knight g5. And here I saw my opponent's face. They were really probably disgusted that they'd played a5 in maybe like a minute without really thinking much and already just blundered. But already I think they were not playing a great game because obviously they blundered on move 2, so they had mixed up their move orders. So here you can castle or play d5, and yeah, a lot of people castle here, but I think it's just losing. And if you want to see why, takes. We go into the same line, but then after b6, we have knight b5, and our knight is escaping. And we can see here why white is completely winning. We're up in exchange. Black has no compensation, so he would be winning. So after knight g5, my opponent went d5. Again, if you have to go d6, d5, pretty sad position. And here, another player in the tournament pointed out to me that I actually missed this knight takes d5 move. After knight takes d5, I can go bishop takes d5, because after queen g5, I have the same queen h5 motive. But after this, apparently this position was better than what I went for in the game. Now, it doesn't look obvious to me at all. Here, I'm not even up a pawn, but I have the bishop pair, and the bishop pair is incredibly dominant here. And also, for example, if he tries to protect the pawn, he has problems with moves like e5, and he'll never be able to move any pieces. So, and his pieces are also all terrible, and dark squares are weak. So apparently this is what I should have gone for, but instead of that, I just went for the obvious move, e takes, because now I'm just simply up a pawn. Here my opponent went bishop d6. I didn't expect this move either. Here I thought my opponent was going to castle. I thought I would castle. After takes, I thought they were going to go for bishop c5. This is what looked most natural to me and what I thought was going to be played, because I thought the bishop would just get a free tempo. But bishop d6 is also playable. And here I thought for around 10-ish minutes, 5 to 10-ish minutes, and I made a mistake. So the only really two moves I was calculating were here or here. And the idea of here is just I want to take this as quick as possible. Now I can tell you why I was turned off by this. After castles, I thought that, I thought that he was going to take, and then castle. For example, if I take, I never want to take here because then his knight gets into the game. And if I go here, I thought f5. And I was kind of scared of this position. I just did not think it was advantageous for me. Here the engine is like play bishop b4, but then I thought e4. And now my pawns are not really doing much, and he has some counterplay on the king side. I've lost a game in the Scheveningen like this, or the Sveshnikov, sorry. So I really didn't like this position. And I have the bishop pair, and it's +2, but it didn't look pleasant to me. So instead of that, I just castled. And after castle, I don't think I can still go for this same thing, but it'll be much weaker now that he can go takes, and for example, knight takes e4, queen takes e4, knight f6, or rook e8. Here apparently is already equal. So I can't really go for this anymore. So I was like, okay, I'm kind of not doing that well. For example, also if I go for this, I think that immediately, there was something else I was worried about. Takes, if he takes with the queen, takes, I can't remember, but there was also some positions, for example, like if I play a random move like rook a2, this is not a good move. He can go takes, bishop e5, let's say I go queen d1. Okay, I don't exactly remember actually, but basically there were some positions where he could get a Greek gift off, and I was just pretty much worried about that. It's possible I was seeing ghosts, but h3 is a good move anyways. So e takes e4, queen takes e4, this was all what I expected. Here my opponent played knight e5. I didn't expect this. I thought my opponent was going to knight b6 and try to round up the pawn, but again, this is kind of passive, so good on my opponent for not doing that. Knight e5 is taking an advantageous position. Here, I probably should just give up the bishop pair by going like rook e1, and after takes. But I saw after bishop e4, I didn't think it was clear at all, and here the engine just says go knight g4, and he gives up the bishop for some strange reason. But yeah, I would never do that. So here I went bishop e2, and at this point, I was already kind of shook, basically. I was kind of very sad that this is what my position had come to from being completely winning in the opening. And I knew black has a lot of activity here, has some nice pieces. So here my opponent played knight g6, which is one of the best moves. They're looking for knight f4 in the future. And here, I spent 30 minutes on a move. And it's really difficult to find a move. So the obvious move is knight f3. And why is knight f3 the obvious move? Okay, black wants to go bishop e5 and they take the knight. That is clear. That's the threat. After bishop e5, I have to move my queen. They take here, and then if I do nothing, they take back. And then they're completely winning. So, knight e5 is the obvious move to stop that. But you might say, it's also the best move. Why didn't I play knight e5? And the reason why I didn't do that is because after knight f3, I thought he had knight h5. And the engine says knight h5 is a big mistake. Because after, for example, rook d1, which is what I calculated, I thought that he just gets his knight to f4. And Garry Kasparov once said that a knight on f4 is at least worth a pawn. So here I thought the position was not at all clear. Not to mention after bishop f1, I can't even kick it away because this pawn is going to be trapped forever. And for example, after here, I just thought I was lost. Not lost, but I evaluated this position as roughly equal. I did not see any way to nicely protect this pawn. For example, queen d2 was one of the ways I considered. And then the other knight can go here and it just gets, this rook can go here and it gets really unpleasant. So yeah, That's what I thought here, but apparently this is +2. And the reason why is because after bishop f5, I can go queen c4. If he takes, I think I have, okay, rook d4. Like, very unclear. What is rook d4 even doing? Let's say he just goes back. Then now knight b5. Like, okay, it's just ridiculous engine stuff, basically. So no humans, I don't think, is going to play like that. So again, after seeing that, knight f3 was kind of off the cards. Knight ge4 was the other move that I think is pretty reasonable. For example, after bishop e5, I could go queen back to d1, and if he takes, this pawn is still alive, and after bishop e5, queen d1, he can't take because I go here. And yeah, this would have been also a good position. I was worried about allowing the knight to f4, though. This is my general concern, and yeah, the engine doesn't mind giving up the bishop pair, which I think is ridiculous. So knowing all that, I have to prevent this bishop from coming to e5. I have to defend this pawn, but I also do not want to allow knight f4. How do I do all those moves? Rook d1. And that's why this took me near 30 minutes, because rook d1 is not a move you want to play. The other rook now has no home, but rook d1 is one of the best moves, and I think it's the most human move in this position, so I'm pretty proud that I found it. So here, queen e7. I didn't expect queen e7 at all. I thought the only move was really here, and I was planning to play bishop d3. And apparently black could get near equality with c5, because I can't take, because he has here. So hopefully if he played bishop f5, I would have found something else like knight g4, which is much better. But yeah, who's to say? I'm not sure if I would have found that. So bishop f5 was definitely a big chance for my opponent to get something here. But they played queen e7 instead, which makes some sense. I just develop a piece. I mean, there's not much else you can do. Bishop f5. And now I go bishop d3. They take. And yeah, here I have no idea what I was thinking of. I spent like 10 minutes and I took with the rook. I should just take with the queen in like 30 seconds because like I'm just up a pawn then. But I took with the rook because I was seeing ghosts. Here my opponent played b6, and so if I move my rook back, they're threatening bishop c5. And here I played knight g4 because I just wanted to stop that, and I also want to trade pieces. And here I thought they were just going to take and go for bishop e5. And I just did not really see how... Oh, sorry, something like this happened in the game, but I didn't really see how it's that conclusive for me. For example, if d6, they can just take. And after queen d5, I didn't think it was clear whatsoever. But something similar happened to the game, so I won't dwell on it. I played knight g4. Now they play bishop e5, which is slightly worse now because of the fact that I have this intermezzo knight here. And also this knight is still on c3, so the b2 pawn's not hanging. So here, if they take with the bishop, I have d6, and after takes, I'm just completely winning. I'm winning this pawn, and it's game over. So instead of that, they went queen takes f6, I went queen c4. And here they played queen e7, which I think is a very good move. The engine doesn't like it, but here I played the engine's favorite move, which is rook e1, and then queen b4 was very nice. I completely missed this. And the idea is that if I take, for example, go here, I think that I'm just not even better here. For example, after this, or not there. Rook a5, attacking the knight. And it's very hard to say why there's any reason white would be better here. So yeah, I could take the queen, so I have to defend it with b3. I was also considering queen b3, but then I thought it's possible he could shake off this way or just go here, and then my pawn structure is ruined. So I didn't want to do that. And the final move I was considering was queen b5, but then what is my queen doing on b5? Doesn't make much sense. I calculated b3 was winning, so I decided to just do that. Because if he takes, I can get rid of the pawn with c5 at any time. Instead, he went rook f8, which now is a blunder because after takes, my a4 pawn is defended. And after knight b5, it became a pretty easy win. Here my opponent went knight f4. I just took and traded, and yeah, you just need to trade here. I went king f1, rook d8. Notice that if he doesn't play rook d8, I can go for g3, and then after bishop here, like takes, and then here, and I should be completely winning. I think, for example, even if h6, I could go here with this fork, and I win a pawn. So yeah, he didn't want to do that. Here it went rook d8, so that if I go here, if I take and take here, he can take the pawn. That was the notable difference. So g3, king e2, and from here it's actually a pretty easy win. And you might say, why would you go into a rook endgame up a pawn? Aren't those notoriously draws? But chess is a game of rules. You always need to find where it's not a draw and where it is a draw. And here, I think quite clearly it is completely winning because black has two weaknesses. I have a passed pawn. And not only does black have two weaknesses, they're also down a pawn. So, for example, even if they just had this one weakness and this pawn was, I don't know, very stable or something, it would still be winning because they're down a pawn. So you can either have a weakness and be down a pawn in a rook endgame, or two weaknesses and you should lose. So, yeah, here it was untenable for... black. And my idea was with this is, okay, I want to play rook d4, but if I ever do that, he has c6, and then I would lose this pawn, which I don't want to do. For example, takes. Then it becomes very hard. For example, if I go rook d4, c6, takes, takes. This position is +8. Okay, because of the back ring. Sorry. So after king e2, king f8. If I go rook d8 now, c6 or c5 becomes very difficult. Okay, maybe c5. c5 becomes very difficult because he's gotten rid of one of his weaknesses. This pawn is stable. This pawn is now without any defenders except for the rook. So this would have been very difficult to win, so I don't want to allow that. So I went king e3, so after king e7, now I can go rook d4, because if he goes c5, I just take it, and if he takes, I take here, takes here, and I'm up 2 pawns. So he doesn't want to do that. Instead, he goes f5, and I just bring my king over to the queen side. And here, make sure you play the right move here. My move might look a little bit strange, but if you went king takes b4, you lose to c5. And I think my opponent was really, really hoping for this. This was pretty much the last trick they had. But, okay, I played rook d2 just to get out of that fork. Here they went c5, and I went... Yeah, so, I mean, in hindsight, maybe I should have played rook d3 so that they don't have c5, because I would just take. And if they take here... I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of moves that win. Simplest maybe is here. And then I just pick up this pawn, because this king can't approach this side. Okay, but instead I went rook d2. I allowed c5. And here, after rook e2, my opponent actually resigned, which I was kind of surprised by, because I feel like there's still chances for white to go wrong. But basically, no matter what move my opponent plays, I'm playing rook e6. For example, king f6, rook e6. Oh, not rook e5. Rook e5 is an unfortunate way to lose the game. Rook e6 takes, and okay, I win the pawns here. You can take your time to calculate this, but basically I'm just going to take and then push this pawn. So, and yeah, pretty much it doesn't matter what he did. I was just playing here, takes, and if he takes, I go here and I win. So, and even if he went here, I still go rook e6, because if he moves back, I take. So he again has to take, and here he's even down to tempo. So yeah, that was a pretty nice game and a nice way to win my 4th round game. And then I won my 5th round game in another opening trick. So yeah, a pretty lucky tournament. I think my openings won me most of the games, except for the one that I covered last week. That game was actually pretty good by me. So yeah, I'm happy with the tournament. And if you guys wanted to see some more games from this tournament, please let me know down below. And if you haven't already, please make sure to ask a question in the questionnaire that I posted earlier this week, I guess. So yeah, with that all said and done, I'll see you guys in the next one.